Okay, here is a speed run of cricket darts. I'm going to use lambdas and VBA. You can download that file at the link in the description. One thing I always do for darts cases is to deal with the bullseye and the 25 being in a different format than everything else. Is if there's just a 25, I'm going to replace it with S25, single 25. And if there's a bull, I'm going to replace it with double 25. So that just basically puts everything in the same format, which will make it easier. All right, so if here is my throw, I need to know the multiplier and the sector, and from that I can figure out the points. So I'm going to make a little lookup table for the multipliers, 1 for single, 3 for triple, 2 for double. So if I look up the leftmost character of that on here, returning on there. And then the sector is just my only numbers, lambda. Points is product of those if the sector is greater than or equal to 15, then it's a product of those. Any sectors under 15 do not score in the game of cricket darts. All right, so now I'm going to do, 3 throws. Not free throws like in basketball, but 3 throws like in darts. And this I will lock to the sheet so I can just keep using it forever. So lock that there, lock that there, and now I can use it through the whole rest of the case and it will be fine. And if that's true, then the points are going to be 0, right? That 10 does not count because that sector does not count in this game. All right, now we gotta open the scoring, right? So I mean that's not going to be points anymore. But we got to track how many hits do we have in each sector. 19, 20, and 25 are the possible sectors. So, bring this in a little bit here. Starts out with 0 hits in each sector. Then I'm going to figure out the start hits, the end hits, and the points, and then I'll fill in the new hits here, right? So the start hits, right, is I'm going to look up the sector on this totally locked, right? Returning on this that can flow relatively. All right. And if it's not there, then that means it's below 15, which doesn't count. All right, so the end hits then is the minimum of 3, because you never have more than 3 hits in a sector on the chalkboard, right? So 3 hits, right? 3 hits representing 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hits, like on the chalkboard for those of you dart players. End hits, right, is just the minimum of 3, and this the minimum of 3 and however many starting hits I had plus the new hits that I got. All right, and the points that I got is based on, well, first of all, however many hits I used on the chalkboard, right? That's how many hits I used on the chalkboard. That's got to get subtracted from the multiplier, right? So 2, whatever hits are wasted going up on the chalkboard, that does not, I don't get any points for that, right? And here, that takes away all my multiplier, even though 9 doesn't even count. But if it did, it would have, even if that was 15 or 20, it still doesn't count because it's all going on the chalkboard. All right, once I've subtracted out the hits that went on the chalkboard, now I can multiply that by the sector number and get the number of points that I just scored, right? And this has got to go over to AJ. And oh, I got to update these now. So if the not XLOOKUP, but if the sector I hit last time, right, which is always in F, is equal to the sector of this column, which is always in row 18, then I use the end hits from last time, which is always in column O. Otherwise, I just carry down the same number of hits, right? So that allows me to update my hits. For 19, it doesn't do anything because 19's not on the chalkboard. But for 9, it doesn't do anything. But the 19 here, right? I threw a double 19. Now there's 2 hits on the chalkboard, so it gets placed up here, right? I throw 19 again. 2 hits are already up there. I use 1 to bring it up to 3, and then the other 2 hits, 2 times 19 is 38. That's my number of points. So I do all this, add up my points. Hopefully I got it right so far, and check these as I go. They're all check marks. All right, so now we're gonna do, we just want to see when all of them are opened, right? Which if the last level's right, this is not gonna be a problem. So this is just more hits going out to CR. And copy this all the way down. And then I need to check if I'm done. I'm done if the minimum afterwards, right? Because I only put the hit up on the board afterwards. So if the minimum of that is 3, then that means that everything has been fully hit. And we are done with this game. Since it's just asking us when will the numbers be open. So do this. How many turns are there? 90. So now I look up X lookup 1 representing being done on this list, returning on sequence 90. And all correct for level 4. Level 5, now it's a 2-player game, so this gets a little tricky. I'm gonna make this a little color here because I gotta track player 1 and player 2 separately because they both can have different situations. All right, this stuff I'm gonna move out of the way for a minute, and then I'm gonna create one here for player 2, which is starting from the same formula. I'm gonna have to make some changes though. All right, so there's player 2. I'm gonna do this stuff first, then I'll get back to where I was before. So let's add an active player also. So the active player, 1 takes 3, then 2, then 1, then 2. So I'll just do that manually rather than try to do a cycling sequence. So that's the active player. So what I want to know now is, yeah, the start hits and the end hits and the points for which is always for the active player. And then I'm going to figure out, player 1 score, player 2 score. Need to figure out if player 1 won, if player 2 won, if we're done, and what the best score is, right? That'll probably do it. So for the starting hit, what I got to do is if the active player is 1, then it's that. If the active player is 2, then I got to look it up over here. Let's switch though. This is player 2. This is that, right? So that should be my starting number of hits. Ending hits is the same. And the points rule is almost the same. But there's an extra rule for points in a two-player game, which is that if my opponent has 3 hits, right? If my opponent has 3 hits, that means it's closed. So I can't do anything. So opponent hits, right? So opponent hits is just the opposite of this, right? If this is 2, then all this. So now, if my opponent's hits are 3, then 0 points. Otherwise, I'm allowed to use my points formula, same as before. All right, so the player 1 score is if player 1 is the active player, then it is, and for these cumulative ones, I'll put a starting point. So if player 1 is the active player, then it's player 1 starting score plus the points for player 1. Otherwise, we just carry down the points for player 1. For, player 2, this is player 2's score. I'm going to still add up the points based on the active player, and I carry down player 2's score, but only if the active player is player 2. All right, so now I got to check if player 1 is 1. So that's if 2 things are true. So player 1 has to have a higher score than player 2, and player 1 has to have closed all the numbers. So the minimum of that is 3. So if both of those are true, then player 1 has won. Let's check if player 2 is 1, right? It's the opposite. Greater than, less than. And this goes over here. It's got to be the next turn, too. I got to wait till the next turn. I'm looking at the next herd's board because I didn't put it on the chalkboard until the next turn. So it's this one, not that one. Right? So that's player 1 winning. That's player 2 winning. So if either of them have won, right, the maximum of this means we're done. And then whichever one, the answer is which one has the highest score when the game is over. So that's there. I still have to update these, right? Yeah. So this stuff is still from the old rules. So here, if the acta, or well, it was close, right? If that equals that and the active player, which is always in C, right? If that is 1 and we're in the right sector, then you bring over the end sector. Otherwise, you don't. And this is similar, but it only works if the active player is player 2. So now if the active player is player 2, then all this happens. Now I put that down and I look up done on done, returning on the maximum, returning on the better score. And it's not quite the answer I was looking for. So let's see what's happening here. This triple 20 gets put on player 1's board, which is good. Then they score points, right? Let's see, are they getting the... So player 1 threw a triple 20, which makes 3 hits on the chalkboard. Now they throw a single 20. They already have 3, so they get 20 points. They throw 19, double 19, so that puts 2 up. All right, so now player 2 goes, triple 17, single, and then double 25, puts up stuff, still no points for player 2. Player 1 now is going again and filling up their board more with 17, 18, and 19. Oh, this might be the wrong active player, isn't it? Yeah, that's the wrong active player. But it's the active player of this throw is the one that matters. All right, let's see if I got it now. All right. All correct. Bonus time. What sector was hit the most, counting single, double, triple as different sectors? Well, do that. Control, Shift, End. Gives me everything. I've already filtered out the bonuses from that. Here's my frequency table subroutine. Bullseye. It's getting hit 344. How many times was a triple hit? Well, let's see. I take this and sort it like this, right? All the triples are going to line up. So how many times was a triple hit, including the ones that didn't count? 15, 12. What's the value of all the shots into sectors 1 through 14? This, I just basically could take this formula here, right? And put it here on my frequency table. Copy, paste. Oh no, copy this part, yeah. And paste that in there. Based on this, and I'll take this one that has the hard-coded multipliers. Has a sheet hard-coded for the multipliers. But that's based on this one, right? Now I've got this, except for now I'm only caring about the ones under 15, right? So I want to let that go. So I just want E4 times F4. So this here with the multiplier and the sector numbers based on that. Only numbers based on this is the sector number. So now if I take this and, I sort it, take all of this and sort it by the sector number, right? Here's my sectors 1 through 14. So the frequency of them is here from my frequency table. And then the value of them is here from, the Sue's level 2 formula. And we'll stop the clock right there. 1818. Thanks for watching.